This call is being recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, please disconnect at this time.
Good day. I am the voice of We Provoke Thought. We Provoke Thought is an organization and show that is looking to be the platform for all those who have an opinion, idea, or educated information to share to the world, an outlet to voice your feelings and facts. Now today, listeners, I have a special guest on the line. This gentleman had emailed me and contacted We Provoke Thought to basically raise information, or just to provide information to you all that he felt, and is also talking with me talking to him, I now feel as though it hasn't been highlighted well enough or represented well enough, if you will. And today we're going to be talking about New Age Movement Agenda. And a lot of you are probably scratching your head, well, what does he mean by that, the New Age Movement Agenda? Well, we're going to touch upon a lot of various subjects within that particular title there, New Age Movement Agenda. So let's go off again. Now, of course, once we begin, we'll be continuing with you having full knowledge that the call is being recorded, that you agreed for the call to be recorded, and that you agreed for We Provoke Thought to publish this call without releasing your name, identity, or any information leading to you on We Provoke Thought's YouTube channel and Facebook fan page, along with We Provoke Thought's soon-to-have website. Now, again, I thank everyone for joining in today, and I am looking forward to this gentleman providing us all with some very educated information. But as I always like to do, I like to give the listeners an idea of the demographics in which we reach. So I'm going to ask you, sir, what city and state are you in?
I am in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Lynchburg, Virginia. All right, and today we're going to be talking about the New Age Movement Agenda. And I love that title because if just like what we do, we provoke thought, and that is provoking a lot of thought within me now, because I myself, when you brought it up to me, I said, well, where are you going with that? What is that? Why don't we start off just with that? What would you like to start off as in with the New Age Agenda? How does the New Age Movement Agenda, what is that? How is that important to us all?
All right. So what we are doing now is we're living in the time of this movement that has been honestly pushed on us, which is referred to as the New Age Agenda. Now, the New Age movement, it basically has a bunch of subdivisions in it, and it's generally a collection of esoteric theosophy. It's basically a feel-good universal tolerance, more of a, moral relativism. So basically what you have here is what I believe, something that has been packaged up to look good and sound good, but the roots of it actually all comes from something that is very much evil. New Age Agenda basically is against any religion, specifically speaking, Christianity, Islam, and so forth, Judaism. So what it is a self-help ideology. Now, what it originated from, basically, it stems from a certain few individuals, which would be, give you some names, Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey. They sought to bring forth a new age of enlightenment, if you will. And the fact of it is that it stems from something more evil. If you look into these two individuals, Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, if you look into their background, where they get their ideology from and their theosophy from, which is, like I say, once again, esoteric look on things. If you look in their background where a lot of this stuff comes from, it actually comes from Luciferianism. These people actually are what you would consider Lucifer sympathizers, okay? And I'll explain that here as well. When you have self-help, it actually boils down to enlightenment, and that's where the term Illuminati comes from, actually, is to be enlightened. That means to possess certain kinds of knowledge, which basically most humans weren't really meant to understand. And to tap into that knowledge, you actually have to go into the spiritual realm. You pick up what I'm putting down so far?
Yeah, I have you. And then let me just basically throw out a question there, just so that we also make sure that the listeners are following us. So, am I understanding it correct that the New Age movement is a religion? or
it is what I personally would consider a false religion, but yes, it is a religion. Even though they may go as far as to say it's not a religion, but it is.
All right, and would they fall in the same category, or are they followed by atheists, or are we talking about something totally different, two different?
Actually, that's a very good question. I believe that they are followed by atheists, which they would consider themselves, or Gnostics, that would consider themselves to not know, or agnostics that would consider themselves to not know anything. However, it is still some form of religion or some form of belief. That's what you got to look at it as. All right.
Can continue taking us away then.
All right, and okay. So back to what I was saying about the New Age movement. What you have is a teaching that was embraced by, like I said, a teaching by Alice Bailey and Helena Blavatsky, that was embraced by a certain few individuals. Another gentleman, I wouldn't even call him a gentleman actually, like thereof, Aleister Crowley. I don't know if too many people are familiar with this guy. I'll give you a small brief history. He basically was a Satanist. He created his own religions, which would be the OTO. He was very much an Illuminati. He practiced witchcraft. He indulged in plenty of drugs because he knew that drugs was the gateway to get to speak to these spiritual beings that would give him a certain knowledge that most humans don't have. See, that's a whole new topic, but at the same time, it still ties in. So this New Age movement comes from the belief that Lucifer actually was the innocent one, and God is the guilty one or the bad one for not wanting to share knowledge or enlighten, if you will, his people. So these people are Lucifer's sympathizers. Okay, now, moving forward to today's standards of what the New Age agenda is. Now, most of that knowledge about what I've explained about Alice Bailey and Helena Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley, that has been hidden deep within the roots of where this New Age agenda or theosophy comes from. What we see nowadays is you actually, once again, you have subdivisions in the New Age agenda. I'm going to throw some out there just so people can get a better understanding of what I mean by subdivisions. It's all a practice of occultism, and it's meant to look good. I'll give you an example of one. For instance, yoga. Yoga is looked at something like it's just an exercise, but yoga is something way more than that. It's actually a spiritual exercise. And it also falls under the term of esoteric or theosophy as well, because once again, it is makes yourself feel good. It's a universal tolerant, more so. So that's just one example of these subdivisions that fall under the New Age agenda. Buddhism, I hate to speak of that way, but Buddhism was never meant to be a religion in the first place. However, it falls under the self-feel-good movement, which is the New Age movement. We've been kind of ushered into this, which was also written about by our society, used through propaganda. You can see it all around you, but you really never would even notice it. It's on our clothes, it's in our music, it's on our TVs. You know, more specifically, I remember seeing Jay-Z wearing a T-shirt once, and it said, do it thou wilt. Now, most people would just see that shirt and think it's just any other kind of shirt, you know. But if you look into where that quote comes from, then you'll get a better understanding. Now, the Do What Thou Will shirt that he wears is actually a quote out of the OTO, which is written by Aleister Crowley, which is the Luciferian. And you may be asking yourself, why would Jay-Z wear this shirt? Well, because to get to the status that he had to get at, he had to be enlightened, if you will. He has taken an oath to this New Age agenda. Now, you'll have people professing the name of Christ and God, but you can see the fruits of their labor, or you can see the fruits of their beliefs by their actions, by their doings, how they are in the secular world. And what you'll end up having is basically what I like to call the motivational speakers for the New Age agenda. They are the ambassadors. That's a good term, ambassadors, because they're very influential on the youth. So you pick up what I'm saying once again about how this has been it's been pushed on us without us even knowing, and it's in pop culture, it's in propaganda all around us, you know.
Right. All right. Now, let me ask this here, because with me, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I have the very, if any, knowledge on the New Age movement. I am fully familiar of with Illuminati type of explanations, and also the belief of those who believe in the Illuminati and things of that nature. So so that I can learn along with the listeners, with this New Age movement or New Age beliefs or what have you. Just looking into some of the things I do know, so they have this all is one type of belief, if you will. And as for like the New Agers, they believe that everything and everyone is interrelated or interdependent, and that individuality is considered an illusion.
You nailed it. That's exactly what it is. Exactly.
Okay, and then basically, so for the New Agers, there's no real difference between humans, animals, or rocks.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Now let's jump into the source of where all of this comes from. Now the Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. That is a very powerful statement if you think about it. Now, if this is a evil movement, then we can't really sit around and I'm not going to use the term judge, but blame other humans for this movement. Where does this come from then? If it comes from the Bible saying wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, then it must come from somewhere, which is the source would be Satan and his domain, his kingdom. So what it is that Satan is basically the father of lies. He's here to kill, steal, and destroy any way that he can. So that being said, this whole agenda comes from, and this is a lot for some people to accept, it's a satanic movement. This has been run and governed by Satan and his kingdom and his domain. That's where this comes from. So I'll just give you the stuff for some more examples. You've noticed more recently, you got the all-seeing eye and triangles and skull and bones on pop culture. You'll see it in rap music. You'll see it in movies. You see it in everything around you. And this is the funny thing about Satanism or Luciferianism. You're not going to be forced. It's not going to be forced on you, even though it technically is. You're not going to be forced to take it. You're almost going to willingly take it because it's in pop culture. It's the cool thing to do nowadays. It's what Jay-Z is wearing. It's what you see in Rihanna's video. I'm sorry? It's basically
the trick, the hide in plain view, basically. Rather
they
than
hide in plain view, and actually that's what the Illuminati does. They hide right in plain view. And the thing is that I see a lot of the youth following suit with this because that is what they're shown. You know who used this tactic, funny enough, is the Nazis.
I think Adolf Hitler had that in mind. He wanted a world government too, with himself as the master leader.
Many have regarded Hitler as the apex of evil, a true heart of darkness. But how many people know that Hitler had his own vision of a new world order? Hitler had been promoted by the establishment. He graced the cover of Time magazine many times and was their Man of the Year twice. His vision was simple: unify Europe and then the world. The only real difference was that his order was racially motivated, instead of being based solely on religion. He even wrote a lesser-known follow-up to Mein Kampf in 1928 that many have dubbed My Order, or New World Order.
Adolf Hitler used this exact tactic to, when his country was in turmoil, he used this tactic of basically hating on the Jews so he could raise his country up. He used this exact same tactic using propaganda to say that the Jews were the ones, the Jews were the one that they were responsible for the death of Christ, and so forth. This is the same exact tactic. So this is nothing new. And actually, more so over, Adolf Hitler was a reader and follower, once again, of Helena Blavatsky, which, once again, was a Luciferian who created Theosophy. So this is how it's all connected. So the powers that be, if you will, they are in control. They hide in plain sight. They direct the path. And what I mean by that is they play God, and there's a term for that. You've seen Skull and Bones around a lot, right? Everybody think about pirates, this, that, and the other. No. Well, the Skull and Bones is actually order out of chaos. Now, see, that's a God standpoint, because God allows us, he gets his order out of allowing chaotic things to happen. What I mean by that is God doesn't always interfere in your life. He allows you the free will to make choice, this, that, and the other. And hopefully he'll gain your conformity out of that by you through trials and tribulations. Now, when men try to do that, they do it for their own benefit, for their own good. This is why nowadays you see the Constitution being erased, because you take away certain freedoms from men, but you at the same time make them think that they're getting more freedoms, i.e., gay marriage. This whole fight to take away guns from citizens. This is not a positive thing. This is actually done to keep more people in bondage, if you will. And this is something that's been written about for plenty of years. And like I said, just like you said, it's hiding right in plain sight. It's funny how if you sit back and just watch it, America was kind of in turmoil, and they had to do something to put it back in place. Now, excuse me if no one agrees with me on this, but
we don't apologize for nothing here.
There we go. There we go. All right.
Go ahead.
Well, I believe Obama was selected because the world was already in turmoil. We were sick of seeing the same exact people run this country for so many years. At the same time, this was a false sense of hope, if you will. It was to garner a bunch of people that have a certain religious understanding, and they played on the emotions of a certain group of people, which would be black people, which would be homosexuals, Hispanics, and so forth. So this is something that's actually been planned out, if you will, back to the New Age philosophy. If you notice, you'll never see a standpoint taken by our president. You'll never see it, and what I mean specifically, you'll never hear him endorse Christ, God Almighty, and I mean the true Christ of the Bible. You'll never see him endorse that. He will embrace other religions. Now, and I'm not going to apologize for this, but at the same time, do I believe every other religion is false? I do believe that. That is just my understanding. And if we want to touch on that on a different scenario, we can go into that on another show when you have me back on, and I can explain to you why I feel this way. But
right. That's more than welcome.
Yeah. And once again, just moving forward, the New Age agenda, we're going to move into one specific video that has touched a lot of people in a certain way. And the way they set it up, actually, is pretty, it's insightful. This documentary, the Zeitgeist, which they have a huge movement in there. There's like 4 parts to this now. But the first one is touching on how 9/11 was an inside job, how they had knowledge of this, that, and the other, and, so they basically just called it a hoax and whatever. And for those conspiracy theorist believers out there, it was something to grasp them in. It was like a base. Now, the second part to that documentary was all about how Jesus Christ was not even a real person, how he was not the Son of God, how the Bible is misleading, and how Christ is just a made-up figure. And he goes on to explain this using works from certain theosophy believers nowadays. This guy, Peter Joseph is his name, who directed this. When you go and see, this is why I urge people to go. If you want to have an understanding of something, you go and you look into it. You use your gift of discernment to figure out if this is right. And like I say, the fruits it'll reveal itself to you if it's not. Now, this guy, Peter Joseph, when you do a background check on him, once again, he is a follower of none other than Alice Bailey and Helena Blavatsky. You notice these names keep coming up pretty frequently.
Right.
And that's because they are the authors. Yeah.
Just so I didn't, because you have brought the name up quite a few times, and I want people to have an idea, or maybe we didn't explain just exactly. Alice Bailey is a woman, and
yes, she's a woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Alice Bailey. The title New Age has been around for, say, roughly about 60 years, and was first popularized by a woman named Alice Bailey. Alice Bailey,
right,
from the 1880s up until 1949.
That's correct.
The New Age movement and its beliefs were widely introduced to thousands of young people in the U.S., England, and in Europe, roughly around in the 60s. and it's taken off since then. And you were right about the whole use of, from there was a surge of interest in the West with the yoga and meditation and things of that nature.
Exactly.
So, and again, what I try to do is I try to provide folks with information that not necessarily supports, but basically either supports or challenge the information that you're providing. And I strongly urge, just as you did, and I want to piggyback off of that, for all of my listeners, when dealing with We Provoke Thought, understand this, that the information that's going to be provided by either the guest or myself or a host of others, I challenge everyone to research the information that is provided, the information that is given to you, because there's going to be, you got to find the truth within your beliefs. Because without that, all you're doing are following a lie, living a lie. Never do you want to follow anything blindly. And with confirmation comes affirmation. So once you find the truth within the information that is provided, then you stand strong with that knowledge, and you can go on and teach and share it with others, and use it for yourself to help propel you into a much stronger light, or enlightenment, if you will. Since we're talking about the Illuminati, but I use the word loosely, but nonetheless, that's what you want. So I challenge everyone to take the opportunity, once this program is done, show is over, to research the information that is being given to you. So, and because you used the name Alice Bailey, I wanted to provide just a little bit of information that I had on her, and so that everyone understands who to look up when it comes down to doing their research. I apologize for that, and I'll let you continue for that.
All right. Let's take it. Let's go a stone's throw away from this. Let's speak about aliens, as well as aliens, demons, and ghosts or anything of that matter. Now, that being said, I believe in interdimensional beings. I don't believe in aliens. I do not believe any form of life exists in our universe or any other universe, parallel universe, or whatever. I believe, and like I say, once again, the Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. That being said, if there is anything out there, and I'll explain what interdimensional being is. That's what they are, interdimensional beings. These beings are something that basically are on a spiritual level. They can manifest only to those who allow them to manifest to them. I briefly said that Aleister Crowley was a huge advocate of drug use. I mean, heavy drug use, LSD, you name it, mushrooms, all of the above. He knew that was the gateway or the door to interacting with these beings. And that's where the study of demonology comes from. Now, he's not the only one. There's plenty of them that understand this is how you gain knowledge. Certain forms of knowledge have been given to certain men that have tapped into these spiritual beings, okay? They know that aliens do not exist, but they want people of laymen to understand that aliens do exist, because it's a cover-up for what is really out there, which, like I say, once again, it's interdimensional beings. So, to give you an example of one, there's a gentleman, or lack thereof, I want to say his name is Robert Parsons. They also call him Jack Parsons. Now, Jack Parsons was a nuclear engineer. He was, to put it easily, he was a rocket scientist. He literally single-handedly invented rocket propulsion. And he hardly even went to school for this. He also was a member of the OTO, he was a disciple of Aleister Crowley. Now, we've all heard of Area 51? Okay, we've heard of Area 51. We've heard of the Roswell accident. We've heard of all of this. Now, what they don't want you to know is that, when I say they, what the New Age agendas, what they don't want you to know is that actually Area 51 is a place where they conjure demons, just so that they can get information or knowledge about anything that has been introduced through modern-day science, modern-day physics, whatever the case may be. This guy Jack Parsons or Robert Parsons.
Hold tight. I hate to cut you off, and I know there's some that I did so, but you're about to upset some people out there because you just
I know.
You just crushed. I can't even think how long back have I had associated Area 51 with the conspiratorial place where all the alien aircrafts and alien artifacts and so on and so forth, or supposed alien artifacts or alleged alien artifacts and so on and so forth. And you also crushed a business out there, because that's the business that's been sold to a lot of folks.
Right.
So I want you to just repeat, starting with Area 51 again, so that everyone is clear on your beliefs on that. And again, this is where the challenge now begins, where we challenge you all to research for yourself. But I want you to repeat that for those who will not rewind this program to hear it again. I want you to repeat what you just said about the Area 51 and your belief on what it is used for and its importance to the New Age agenda movement.
All right. And I got to correct myself a moment ago. I gave a misstatement. Actually, his name is John Whiteside Parsons. He goes by Jack Parsons, but his name is John Parsons. So if you want to do some research on it, I just want to make sure I got that out there. But yeah, so he was not just a rocket scientist. He was a huge occultist, is who he was.
During the 1930s and 1940s, the OTO Lodge in California was headed by a brilliant young rocket designer called Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons developed patented rocket technology, which is still in use by NASA to this day. NASA named a crater on the dark side of the moon in honor of Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons worked during the day to develop rocket propulsion systems which would serve NASA's space program, which was controlled by ex-Nazi SS officers such as Werner von Braun, who had been brought to the USA by the CIA's Project Paperclip. At night, Jack Parsons would hold sex magic rituals in his house in Pasadena and initiate fellow scientists at the Los Alamos Atomic Bomb Laboratory. Jack Parsons was fully aware of what his rocket designs would eventually be used for. Not far from Jack Parsons' rocket lab in Pasadena, Robert Oppenheimer was building the world's first atom bomb, which would be exploded at Los Alamos near a place called the Road of Death, which lies on the 33rd degree parallel. Once installed as the head of the OTO's American operation, Jack Parsons conducted a giant satanic ritual, aided by a fellow OTO member with the codename Freighter H. In 1948, the same year that George Bush Sr. was baptized as Magog, Jack Parsons undertook one of the most dark rituals known to Kabbalists, the Babylon working. This ritual requires the initiate to visualize the Kabbalistic tree of life, with its 10 spheres and 22 connecting pathways. Between the top 3 spheres and the lower 7 spheres, there is the so-called abyss, the place where one's personality, possibly even one's sanity, is potentially destroyed. If the initiate successfully spans the abyss with personality intact, then he becomes a black brother of the Kabbalah, a black magician of the so-called left-hand path. In the tradition of Judaic mysticism, these black magicians are utter evil and are in themselves pestilence.
He, like I say, and this gets even deeper, funny enough, but he was a disciple, if you will, of Aleister Crowley. He was used by the U.S. to create single-handedly rocket propulsion for the U.S., and how he garnered that was by conjuring demons. He conjured demons, and there's a way to do it, and once again, that's one thing I would never suggest anyone try to do, is conjure demons, but it is very much possible. You can find anything on the internet nowadays, as we all know. You can get on YouTube and find out how to conjure demons, and it's not hard at all. But it is not something to take lightly as well. So this guy,
I've never played with a Beach Boy.
Right, neither have I. And I don't play with stuff like that because once again, that's opening that door for evil to come in. And once you open that door, it will bother you. That's why you have people seeing ghosts. That's why you have people seeing false images of UFOs or alien abductions, and all of this is why you have that. So that being said, I believe that Area 51 is a place where demons were conjured for information. And this doesn't come lightly. Anytime you do any of these things, there has to be some repercussions. I believe there's still sacrifices made to these demons to appease them. And that being said, you also have, who is known as, I'm not sure if people understand who L. Ron Hubbard is. He is the creator of Dianetics, also known as Scientology, which is also a form of religion, but it's a false form of religion. Well, he and Jack Parsons were best friends. People wouldn't know that, but this is how this is all connected. And these men knew that Satan was in control of the lie and everything that they were doing. If you look up Aleister Crowley, he actually has pictures of a certain demon he would conjure. He knew him by name. The demon's name was Lamb, spelled L-A-M-M. And Aleister Crowley would do all of these drugs and conjure demons. And he knew how to keep them guarded. He knew how to keep himself in defense from these demons because they can't harm you. And you got to understand how to do this. Now, you may be wondering, how do people do this? This is an ancient knowledge. This is ancient mysticism. And excuse me, I'm going to have to look up the term for that again. But it's also known as, what is the mysticism of Judaism? I forget the term for that. But this is something that has been around for years. Just like Sufism is the mysticism behind Islam, there's the mysticism behind Judaism as well. And I'll find out what the actual name of that is shortly. Right. But we'll
post that information.
Yeah, we'll post the information. Okay. These guys, they study this. Okay, I'm sorry. It just came to me while I was walking in circles. It's actually called the Kabbalah. I'm sure we've all heard of that. That is also a false form of religion, which theosophy and everything else is based on it, which is the Kabbalah, which is very much huge nowadays. It's the mysticism behind Judaism. These men studied this. They studied that, and they knew how to conjure demons. And this is something that has not stopped. This still goes on till this day. This goes on until it's not like it just ended with Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons. There are people that still practice this. Let's move on to, it's still in the realm of it, but let's move on to, let's see, it's my place in California. I have all of these secret meetings. You've heard of the Bilderberg meeting. I've heard you speak of that before. The ranch out in California, what's the name of it, actually, where all of the elite meet up, and it's a networking process. And Alex Jones snuck in.
From Howard Taft to
thank you very much.
on the membership roster. Not to mention, later, famous war general Dwight D. Eisenhower, later to become president. The roster of the Bohemian Club reads like a who's who of the elite. Look at this photo taken inside the Grove back in 1963. There you'll see Ronald Reagan. And sitting 2 people over from him, later to become president, Richard Milhous Nixon. Frankly, we don't know if these men actively enjoy the things that go on inside the Bohemian Club. But one thing is perfectly certain from the evidence. They are forced to go and attend and take part in these activities if they wish to be elevated to the highest levels of the geopolitical power structure.
Thank you. So you gotta excuse me. I'm throwing out so much information. I'm speaking.
No problem. No problem. Take your time. Take your time. This is your show right now.
So you have all of these secret meetings, all of these higher-ups or bigwigs, if you will, meeting to discuss certain things. Now, once again, if you look into their background, which Alex Jones, he infiltrated it back in, I want to say, early 90s, you can see them doing mock sacrifices and conjuring a demon god, all in the name of entertainment, they say. But you do not play with the spiritual realm. It's not a game. It's not meant to be done for entertainment purposes. These men were doing these things to gain knowledge. And what they do is they network with each other. So this is a whole global conspiracy, or a whole global effort, if you will, to keep people in bondage. You'll see, actually, in the next few years, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of religious people, and more specifically Christians, are going to be publicly criticized for their beliefs. And actually, it's already reached into the church. And this is actually a whole different topic I would love to speak on in the future, about how the church is being prostituted right now, and this still all falls under the New Age agenda. I just read an article the other day about T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes says he does not like to tell people that he is a preacher when he goes out. He says he'll tell them that he's a book writer, he's a movie producer, and so forth, but he will not tell people he's a preacher. And specifically is because he doesn't want them questioning him about his beliefs in the Christ of the Bible. For a long time, he did not believe in the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, which is completely documented in the Word of God if you truly understand it. But I'm just using him as an example because the church has been prostituted for one thing only, and you look at it, it's for wealth and for notoriety. You have a lot of mega churches out there that are prostituting the Word of God. This all still falls under the canvas, if you will, of theosophy and New Age agenda. Because these preachers are not preachers, and I'll name them. Joyce Myers, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, just to name a few. What these people are is they are puppets for this New Age agenda. They are also, at the same time, just motivational speakers. They are not true speakers of the Word of God. So you have the reason that they are where they are is because they're so influential over so many people's lives. And that's why they are being used. Once you get to the status of a rock star, that's what I like to call it, because that's what they have. They have the status of a rock star. It's not bigger. It's not greater. They fly their own private jets and do what they do. But once you get to that status, you have to keep up with it. And in order to keep up with it in today's society, under this New Age agenda, you have to be willing to put your true beliefs in God on the back burner. And once you do that, then you are accepted. You'll start noticing that a lot in the church, the preachers that you see. And not all preachers are this way, not all of them. But vast majority of the megachurch preachers, televangelists, and those guys, they are very much influenced by the New Age agenda. I've actually even heard Joel Osteen go on to say that Christ is not the only way to God. I've never heard a preacher come out of his face and say that. He said it on Larry King one night, so if you want to look that up, just to quote it. Yeah, so if you're preaching to 30,000 people in the church and you're preaching that Christ is not the only way to God, but that is your profession, you are a preacher for the Church of Christ, then you have, what he was doing was he was being apologetic to the New World agenda, to the New World, New Age movement is what he was doing. No, I know I covered a lot of information right there. It went from aliens all the way down, but once again, it's like I said, you wrestle not against flesh and blood.
That was good. That was good. And you know, I got a problem sometimes. I may cut across you, cut through you, but I want to make sure that, you know, with this, we do not take the listeners from the point where we have their attention to losing their attention. So what we're going to do, we're going to break this up into segments, and this is going to be the first of, let's say, at least 2 or 3 more segments, and we're going to title these segments or these shows as New Age Movement Agenda. All right, and I want to stop you there. And then what we're going to do, we're going to continue on another show, and that'll be part 2 of the New Age Movement Agenda. But again, I don't want to give them too much. We don't want to overfeed them and have them, Right.
And I have a set amount of minutes, and I don't want to overdo them. So I feel like I'm trying to get as much as I can in. But this is good that we can do this another time as well.
Yes, we could definitely do that. And with that, I always like to give, the last word. And I think I gave you the show, and that was good because I felt as though you had a lot of information. When talking to you, I said that this man has a lot of information. I think that some very good points and some very educated information to share to the world. And I wanted to make sure that we were able to be that platform for this. So I'm excited. I'm just as excited as you are. You sound. I love the fire. I love the excitement in your voice, and I hope that a lot of folks receive this when listening to this. And again, challenge them to always research and to find the truth within their beliefs, and to either confirm or challenge the information that they find here on We Provoke Thought. But at this point, I want to cut it short. I want to let us go ahead and move on to maybe our next segment later on down the line. Let folks go ahead and take this information that we provided to them, digest it a little bit, do some research on it, and then we'll test them on the next show, which will be titled New Age Movement Agenda Part 2. But I always like to give the caller the last word, so go ahead and take us out with maybe with the statement, if I had the power, and that's how I like to do it. I'm going to leave you with the statement, if I had the power, and I'll let you finish it from there.
All right. Yeah, so just like we say, if I personally had the power, I would like to share as much knowledge as I can, biblical knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and at the same time, people should use their gift of discernment to use it for themselves to get a better understanding about what is going on in this world. So if I had the power, I would love to just stress that I want to get the information out there for everybody, and I would like to be a provider, not just a mouthpiece for God, if I had the power.
All right, and I appreciate that, and that was beautiful. All right, I'm going to say goodbye to you on the other end. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to us here. We Provoke Thought, and for that, we do not apologize. I am your host, The Voice. Good day.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
This call has been